sing the thunder song.
Wait.
When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your thunder buddy and say these magic words.
Anthony Slater here with Barry Trammell, Eric Horn. Eric Horn, a first-time Californian.
It's been a glorious arrival in California, and I'm not even talking about the basketball yet. I'm just talking about being around all this loveliness and different scenery.
Weather's treating you well.
Weather's been
It's
fantastic.
been really good weather.
You're mainly talking about the other side of the bay, I believe.
I'm enjoying Oakland as well.
You are.
Don't disparage the great people of
I'm not
Oakland.
disparaging Oakland. I don't know what to get. I think there's some interesting things about Oakland. I'm not sure we've seen any of them.
Oracle Arena's interesting. The Coliseum's interesting.
I didn't tell you about my ventures around the corner the first night and some of the
No, you didn't.
interesting downtown area I saw.
Well, perhaps you need to.
You know, just stuff you see in a downtown area when you go to a downtown and you're just observing.
But yes, San Francisco is the scenery is interesting.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. We are privileged.
So this playoffs, the Thunder came in. I mean, the story was about obviously the Durant free agency and thing. Could things be going any more perfectly? And I don't just mean from they're up 1-0 on the Warriors in the conference finals, because obviously that's important. But just how things are playing out would Kevin Durant shot 10 of 30 last night. He had 4 first half turnovers, terrible turnovers. Didn't think he played very well defensively in the first half. Was better defensively in the second half, played better defense. Still shot it poorly, missed 8 straight shots in the fourth. Like I said, didn't play very well, and the Thunder beat the Warriors in Oracle, the 73-win Warriors, because everyone else around him played really well. Could they be presenting a better case to Kevin Durant than they are over the last 2 to 3 weeks?
No, they can't. Although, when you say best case, here's the best case scenario on what is happening is the Thunder is pushing the Kevin Durant. Will Kevin Durant re-sign? They're pushing that off the top of the list. They could win the NBA championship.
Yeah. Is this the first time? When was the first time you legit thought this was a possibility?
Last night.
Really? I mean,
they're playing a 73-9 team. 73-win teams don't lose
Last night.
in the series.
I remember after they closed out the Spurs in Game 6, we were walking back to the garage and talking to Barry and Ginny and saying, we need to completely erase this series, blank slate, because this is a completely different team they're going against. So I had no – and I will confess it to all the listeners. I had no thoughts that the Thunder could – I mean, I thought they had a chance, but I didn't think they were a real –
I thought they'd play tough. I thought
they'd
they'd be
play tough.
competitive. I
Yeah.
thought it'd be fascinating. I thought everybody would walk away from it saying, hey, those guys are good. I didn't think anybody would walk away saying, hey, those guys won. And now they've got
it's
a chance.
game. Yes,
It's clear
and
they
it's
got a
game
chance.
one. You're about to
1-0.
say it's game
It's
one.
1-0.
Doesn't mean anything, but it's clear that they've got a chance.
I just want to remind you guys of something. This was probably 2 weeks ago. It was very similar to the situation we're in right now. We're sitting in a hotel room between games 1 and 2, this time in San Antonio, and we were writing the obituary of the Thunder. I mean, we were roasting them, rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
But series changed on a dime, narrative changed on a dime. The Thunder could play just brutal defense the rest of the series. I mean, a lot of things can happen. But you're right. I mean, just this team has turned a corner in a sense, especially defensively. Barry, you're writing about the defense tomorrow, right?
They're playing great defense. I didn't think they'd hold the Warriors to 102 points or less in any game. 14
in the fourth quarter.
I mean, that's amazing. Now, what you have to think about, though, is, I mean, the Warriors did score 88 through 3. It's not like, they didn't blow the Warriors out.
Well, they scored 60 in the first half.
But even
And
28 in the third's a good quarter.
Yeah, although, I think if you look at the third quarter as a whole, the Thunder played good defense, because they beat them 38-28. It was up and down. There's a lot of free throws. So I don't think 28 was that bad, considering the quarter it was a round. Thunder outscored them by 10 in that quarter.
But they clearly got Golden State off its moorings. They got out of rhythm. They got out of sync. They didn't pass. They didn't move the way they normally do. Their bench was ineffective. Thunder bench whacked the Golden State bench.
It's like throttling in a sense to go from watching the Spurs for 6 games to watching the Warriors. You know, I was just like a Thunder writer, like person covering the Thunder. When with 21 on the shot clock, Steph Curry bombed outlet pass to Klay Thompson, and he like one hand snared it deep in the corner with 21 on the shot clock, looks in front of him. It's Kevin Durant contesting his shot and 3 other Thunder players sitting down for a rebound. No chance of an offensive rebound. He decides to throw up a 25-foot deep corner 3 with 20 on the shot clock. The kind of shot that Greg Popovich would just absolutely combust on the sideline.
Thompson played so well early, but he was not good in the fourth quarter. He took 2 of those. He took 2 quick threes in the fourth quarter during a bad stretch for Golden State.
It's arrogance that is kind of a flaw with this Thunder team. I mean, with this Warriors team. I mean, that was their issue last night. Like that was a turnover. That was like a willing, free turnover for the Thunder.
And it's like they were playing like that in the first half. I mean, the Thunder would hit a shot, and Klay would hit one above the break like less than 3 seconds later. And you were like, well, that got erased really quickly. So are the Warriors going to be able to rein that back, and should they rein that back?
Well, the truth, like, look, Curry and Thompson, they'll probably have 1 to 2 games this series where they'll just win it by just pure shot making. They're like, oh, just terrible shot. Oh, you hit it anyway.
And that's what it looked like Klay was going to do in the first, through first half.
But still, like, I even tweeted it, and I even, like, prefaced it with, like, this sounds dumb. But I remember in the first half, Steph a couple times took, like, you know, where he's dribbling, and then he just kind of throws up a 28-footer. That's contested. It's not poor defense. And he missed a few, and I was like, I know it's Steph Curry. I know, like, this is what the crowd loves. This is what the team's thrived on all season. But they were, especially in the first half, they were getting really easy shots in the half court when Kanter was on the court. It was like those are kind of bailout shots for the Thunder at times. I think in the second half it's not as much because the Thunder were playing really good half-court defense. But I don't know. I mean, it's the Warriors, so they're going to take that shots. But sometimes I think that plays into the Thunder's hands.
Yeah, and, you know, the Thunder played good transition defense. When they quit turning the ball over, Golden State dried up on the fast break. So Golden State ended up with more turnovers than the Thunder after that horrific start. So, I mean, the key is playing well again. But what we've seen is, you know, the Thunder has really matured defensively. Everybody hustled. Everybody got back. I'm trying to think of somebody who did not play well defensively last night. Even Kanter got with it. I went back and looked at some serious plays. Kanter really got with it, even when he doubled up. You know, got switched onto Curry or switched onto Green.
There was one he tried to, like, pick his pocket. It was like, all right, Enes, calm down. But the thing was, Steph didn't make him pay. Like, Enes tried to pick his pocket and, like, stumbled a little bit, and Curry got by him, and then he kind of, like, backed it up through to Green, and then Green throws up a contested 3. It was like that. Yeah. The Warriors took some strange shots, I thought.
Yeah, but they got very little inside game. I mean, they got their inside game is driving past you, but you know they don't have
a huge difference in this team.
Yeah,
like Andrew Bogut seems a little washed up. He's like pretty injury prone.
And Spates, who's a Thunder killer for 2 years in a row, barely played.
That's because you remember. Well,
he didn't like Perkins. It was a Perkins deal, but still.
Remember when he went for 28 in Oklahoma City, and then somebody asked him post game about his big night? He said, "Well, first of all, I want to thank Kendrick Perkins because without him, this wouldn't have been possible. I was getting buckets on him all night." And then,
disrespectful.
Yeah, and then I just remember Perk coming over to the media scrum at practice the next day, like, "Oh, I got something for Mo Spates," and he was just ready to go. Anyway, yeah,
I bet Perk enjoyed that game last night. I
bet
he had a good time with that one,
especially because he's got to love Adams. He knows Adams. He had a year and a half with the Adams, and Adams is the kind of guy, if you know him, you like him. Which, by the way, you guys want to talk about that comment last night?
Yeah, Barry and I kind of
we had a
about
discussion over dinner last night.
Yeah, it's just. Look, if you know Steven Adams, you know there's like he has zero racist bone in him, or however you want to put it. Like it was a cultural thing. You could tell he was kind of scrambling in the moment, looking for a word to describe elusive players. Used a poor one. There's no doubt about it. It was poor use of words. Apologize for it, but I mean, would you take me through your discussion last night?
Well, I said it was no big deal because it was a guy who didn't know any better. If he knew any better, then you'd think, what's going on with that? But if a guy doesn't know any better, he just needs to be educated. And we ended up agreeing that's what happened last night. Was Steven Adams got educated last night?
Yeah.
And I said it was a big deal because a guy needed to be educated. Because if people are making a big deal about it, it's a big deal. If people are or could be potentially offended by something like that, it is a big deal. And I'll just say it outright, as like a black man in America, it's hard for people. It's hard to go by and hear people say things like that, and then people not make a big deal about it because you're standing back like, man, like, does this not matter to me, like my sensitivities or somebody else's potentially? So, again, like you said, I don't think Steven Adams is racist in any way, but it is important that we as the media hold him accountable for what he said so he can learn from it and go forward.
I think it was handled pretty well in the sense of it was brought out, blogged about, talked about. Adams, it was brought to Adams. He apologized for it. But I feel like it was good in a sense that there wasn't an extreme backlash against Adams like it was purposeful. So, like, in that way, like, I think the issue was discussed. Like I said, it was brought to light, but it was also not, like, supremely condemned like he was a super terrible guy.
The immediacy of it and him immediately having to talk about it helps immensely. And I don't think people are going to...
I think it helps him put it behind him because I think if he didn't say what he didn't have the apology to USA Today last night, I mean, that's potentially a storyline at practice today. Still might be. I don't know. We haven't gone there. Obviously.
You guys are too young to remember this.
The Howard Cosell one?
Howard Cosell.
I mean, I'm very aware of this
Monday
story.
Night Football. I can't remember the Redskin receivers. I forgot. Alvin. Oh, heck, I can't remember their names. And I can't remember if it's one guy or two. But Howard Cosell referred to a receiver as a little monkey or two little monkeys, whatever it was. What was interesting on that is Howard Cosell should have known better because he's not from New Zealand, and he's, a highly educated, highly intellectual guy. But what's also interesting is Howard Cosell was about as far from any kind of redneck as the world ever had. I mean, he was a guy that was on the forefront of.
Well, like he wasn't like Ollie's biggest.
Yeah, he was always.
supporter.
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, that shows you that if Howard Cosell can say it, and nobody really believed that Howard Cosell had any kind of malice or any. He just wasn't thinking. That's his problem. And maybe that's what you're talking about, Eric, is maybe guys just got to think. You just got to think.
I think that growing up in the South, I grew up with a lot of kids that weren't necessarily racist. But like you were saying, it's almost like when you're in the South, you're from another country because people are like, I'm not saying that like everybody's segregated, but there's a lot of segregation in the South even today. So some kids that I went to school with, that I got to high school with, they just never been around a lot of black people before. And they'd hear their parents say certain stuff, and they'd get around me, and they'd say stuff, and you're like, man, like, that's kind of racist. Like, why would you even think that? Like, I had teachers say stuff to me, and I was like, golly, you're like a grown man. Like, why would you even, like, ask a weird question like that? And I think that, like, if you're not around certain environments, you tend to say things that you don't even think are offensive. They just like,
well, and let me just give you an experience from my past. I was in my 40s when this happened. I wasn't 21 or 16. I used a word in print. I had no idea it had any racist connotations.
Yeah.
I had zero idea. And I used it in print. I'd heard my brother-in-law say it, just being a goofy, using it as a word to mess with his nephews and nieces. I don't even want to say the word because it's embarrassing to me now. But it's not a common word that you don't hear it hardly anywhere. But I used it in print, and I got an email from a guy who said, "What are you doing using that word? You know what that word means?" And he educated me, and I thought, "Holy crap! How could I not know that?" But I didn't know it. Did not know it. So sometimes you just need to be educated.
Yeah.
And when you are, then you can move on and not do it anymore.
Yeah, and I think that, like, for Steven Adams as a person, not just a basketball player, like, this is probably one of the better things that could happen to him because it got out quickly. People called him on it. He apologized, and it's going to go forward from here. Like, it would have been far worse if this was going on behind the scenes and he was continually saying this or whatever, not knowing the consequences.
Which, being behind the scenes as we are, like, we know that's not the case with Adams. How well liked he is in the locker room.
Well, being well liked and saying things that are kind of borderline or one thing and another.
I feel like if he's in that locker room saying stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't be as liked as he is. I know we're not there. We're not there all the time, but just knowing Adams and his place in that locker room. And just, his history, like, who his mentor is, Kenny McFadden, like, if you know his backstory and, the people he's been around his entire life, that's what, in a sense, I feel almost like people who don't know Adams may think he's just like, as you mentioned, some guy from the South or something like that, when his background, I think, is a little differently. And he said it moments after playing 37 minutes, like he walked right into it from a game. Not that that's an excuse at all, but all right, moving past it, back to basketball. Who wants to talk b-ball?
I'm always down to talk basketball.
You know what I think's interesting? I mean, this team is now playing 8 guys, and if you go down, like, all 8 guys are playing well right now. I mean, like, you can debate Durant, like, I don't think he played up to his standards last night.
The role players are playing well.
Every single one. I mean, look at it.
Foye had a decent little game. Robertson played his butt off.
Well, look, I'll just go down right now. Serge Ibaka last night, 11 points, 11 rebounds, nice little double-double. I thought his rebounds were very important. Led the team in offensive rebounds, 4 of them.
They ripped him off of one. That tip back he got, they gave it to Durant, which was a crime.
That was the most offensive rebounds he's had in the game since early March.
Yeah. And he should have had 5, unless they changed that. But it was funny. He was right. The official scores are dumb sometimes. Where somebody missed a shot and, like, Serge, like, battling for position, like, is able to tip it all the way out to half court to Durant.
Only the Thunder's going to get it. It's not like it's a live ball out there.
Yeah. To the point where Kevin Durant is literally sitting 46 feet from the hoop at half court, not moving, gets the ball tipped to him, offensive rebound in the stat sheet. Good offensive rebound. But he only had 1 block. Man, it was a great block. Yeah. That chase down of the Thompson.
Oh, that to me was my favorite. That was one of my favorite sequences of the game. And I was gonna include it in the journal last night, but it just didn't get in. But, like, I mean, Adams went up for his dunk, and, like, he got blocked by Draymond and started the break, and then Serge just swatted
the Serge of old for a second.
Yeah, man. And then he put the thumbs down too, which was
down,
fantastic. Oh, man. And then the ball went the other way, and then Adams ended up getting a layup. Like, that was one of those sequences where I was like, okay, you know what? The Thunder are losing, but they're going to compete. Like, this is going to be competitive. And that was really promising to see from the standpoint like that. They didn't get down because they got swatted on one end. They hustled back. I mean, that was tremendous sequence from both teams.
Yeah. Okay, Robertson, we mentioned 21 minutes. He was actually had the worst plus minus at -8 in his 21 minutes, but
and he played well when he's with the starters, but he had a stretch where he played with Dion Waiters, and the two of them together, they usually go in for each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, when Russell was on the bench, I think.
Well, and they tried to go small,
and
in the first
did not
half.
work well at all, and that's where Waiters got way below the line, and so did Robertson.
He had, these are
his last 2 games, 8 of 10 shooting. Andre Robertson,
21 points in 2 games. Like, his stat line says 7 points, but I don't think people realize the importance of those 7 points.
Well, how important are they?
He has to chip in with like that. Did you see Draymond Green on the first possession, how he defended him?
Yeah, but let me ask you, did they change? I asked Billy this in the pregame. Did San Antonio change how it was playing defense after Robertson made all those shots? Billy wouldn't answer one way or the other,
Look, the
and I
answer's
think the
no.
answer's no.
No. But that's the point. He has to get those little chip-ins, those easy points. Because think about his two of his baskets last night. They were literally just layups with nobody on them, not contested. It's because they completely ignored him, and he just went under the hoop, looked around. Nobody was paying attention to him. And he went, right here, guys, right here.
Yeah, and it's like,
and they're like, all right, right there.
And all season I've been thinking, like, he's done it at times. Like, I was actually looking back at one of the Warriors games they played earlier this year, and he cut back door on Steph for an alley-oop. Like, he's got to be able to run that baseline and get those little reverse layups like he did last night. Or, I mean, not just be standing in the corner all the time because, I mean, that's going to force the defense to think about more.
And I think we don't see him get those reverse layups cuts as much. I mean, sometimes he gets the
Sometimes he
backdoor
gets them
lob
blocked,
and stuff.
too.
But, like, I feel like last night where it was just like he was literally standing on the hoop waving his hands like, hey, I'm open. And the Warriors were like, well, that guy's open, but whatever. It's like it speaks to me like I think of this Warriors team's flaw is like it's arrogance in a sense. You need to see how Draymond, like I know other teams like don't guard Robertson. They really sag off. Obviously, that is clearly the right game plan. But the Warriors literally treat him like he's invisible. And, like, I think Draymond Green was, like, it was the first play of the game, too, especially. Like, Draymond Green came in like, I am guarding this guy, but I'm not guarding this guy. It's like if you ever played, like,
Got a question for you.
If you ever played rec and you're guarding somebody that was like, oh, this guy's awful. I'm just going to roam
Draymond
and try to get
had
steals.
Draymond had foot in the
What
paint.
if you moved Andre Robertson to the top? Put him at the top of the key. Draymond Green's not coming out to guard him. He'll be in the lane. Just have Andre hold the ball to be a defensive three.
Well, I think he'd step like a
They're
foot
gonna
out
call
of
it?
the lane.
Maybe.
Are they going to call it?
Well, you'd tell them beforehand. Say, hey, here's what we're going to do.
Seems like
this
a
guy's
bull's-
not coming out of the lane, so get ready to blow the whistle.
He
Seems like it'd be might only get by with it once or twice, but it'd be a free point. If they make their foul shots, that's another thing. They didn't make foul shots last night.
Yeah, but I mean, if
Other
you're getting-
team shove everyone.
You know who made him? Steven Adams late.
6 and 9 from the line.
Made 2 when he got hacked. Made the 2 biggest of the game too. Westbrook was 11 of 14 from the line. They actually weren't that bad. 20. Well, that's not good. 22 of 32.
Yeah, not terrible, but it's not great.
Warriors weren't good either. Draymond missed 4.
Yeah, they weren't good, and they didn't get that many. What were they? 11 to 17.
11 to 17.
Steph only got to the line twice.
Yeah, he wasn't very good last night. I believe he had 7 turnovers.
Yeah, his second half was not great.
Made some strange passes. I saw somebody tweet. I wouldn't know it as well as some of the more national guys that maybe watch and dig deep into the Warriors. But I saw somebody, I can't remember who tweeted that the Thunder really scouted Curry's passing well. They knew his like tendencies. Sometimes when he tries to lefty hook pass and some different things. And I mean, look, I'm not gonna sit here and say this is true or not, but it's interesting thought from somebody that maybe they really scouted him well and like took away his pet passes.
They've got a lot of options on Curry. You got Robertson and Westbrook.
Although I really like Robertson on Thompson.
Yeah, but
because he's a guy that can really chase.
But another guy is when they switch, Durant on Curry is not disaster for the Thunder.
It was in the first half because I thought Durant played poor, but in the second half.
Because Durant can play back, but he's got the long enough arms that it at least bother a shot from Curry.
I don't know if we're going to get to this eventually, but how about poor Kanter? His first minutes in, he's got to get Curry one-on-one.
I think he stepped on the court and immediately it was like they put him on Kanter.
It was like, oh, let's get some.
Enes
Let's get some
Kanter's
action
in.
going.
Enes Kanter's guarding Steph Curry.
Yeah, I was
They've
like, oh,
isolated
this
him.
is promising.
Guys, the first 2.5 quarters, anytime Kanter was on the court, Golden State exposed him. They went right at him.
Well,
but it didn't happen in the last quarter and a half. He was 12 of 17. The Warriors were 12 of 17 shooting with Kanter on the court up until when it was 81-69. But for the rest of the game, he did a good job, and I think they were 2 or 6 the rest of the game.
Something like -8 in the first half.
The way
10 in
the way
second.
he started, I was very fearful that he would not be able to play the rest of the game. I mean,
we played 5 minutes the first half. I mean, you couldn't
he was
blame Billy
bad.
because they were torching him.
yeah.
Well, you know what I can't look. I mean, Enes has got his defensive problems. There's no doubt about it, especially against this team. But what I've kind of found underneath the seams is that when the rest of the Thunder defense is playing well, they can hide Enes Kanter a little bit because they can swarm behind him and help and force switches and then even when somebody gets by Kanter, somebody's switching over, and like Kanter's at least kind of going to the right position, like helping and getting in the way at times. But in the first half, they played like they did in Game 1 against the Spurs, where it was just like they isolated Curry on Kanter, and it was almost like the Thunder defense all backed up, and we're like, "You got him, Enes." And then Curry went by him, and it's like, "Hey, he ran him off the 3. What do you expect? You know, he's not gonna like lock this guy up. Like somebody rotate over, like." So, I just think part of the reason why Kanter looked a lot better defensively in the Spurs series obviously was because the Spurs don't have some of the guards that the Warriors do, but also because the rest of the Thunder defense played really well, and that hides them a little bit. So I think the first half struggles, he's to blame, but the rest of the team is to blame. You should have seen some of the non-help that Durant was having. He was just watching people drive
in the first half. Yeah, he did not play well. His shot was off. He's 10 for 30. Everybody gets on Westbrook for that 11 of 30 game. I mean, think about that. How much crap
it's
Russell
true.
Westbrook
Russ took 10 threes and was chucking that
Well,
night.
either way, but
Katie had 8 shots in the fourth that he missed straight. A lot of them were good shots.
But whatever.
You're
11
right.
of 30 and 10 of 30. And I guess
you're
my
right.
point is when Westbrook does it, he draws flack. When Durant does it, we think, he'll be better next
I
game.
gave him flack, but I mean the truth is his history tells you he will be better shooting next game.
Here's what I
He
like
could
about the Thunder offense. Nobody took more than 4 threes.
Westbrook made 2.
They were what? What were they? 17? I think they were 8 of 17.
8 of 17. Yes,
They got outscored behind the 3-point line, 33-26. Thunder will take that every game of this series.
All right, so we've gone now. Ibaka, like these are the 8 guys that played. So Ibaka played well. Robertson played well. Now let's go to the bench. Kanter, we talked about it. I mean, look, he ends up a +2. I thought he had some good sequences in the second half, 8 and 6. This is going to be a really tough series for him. How many minutes per game do you think he's going to average? How many minutes per game do you think he's going to average in this series?
I'll say 24.
24. He only had 18 last night.
Yeah, but I think he'll play more.
24 is a lot for Kanter.
Yeah, but
It's more than a season.
here's the deal. If they each play 32.
And
for
just
Kanter
they go no small ball. They always have 2 of the 3 on the court.
I think they'll play some small
I
ball,
do too.
4 or 5 minutes. But even if Kanter goes down to 20, let's give him 4 minutes of small ball. So that means still you're going to get Ibaka and Adams into the 36 range. Adams will get there, but I don't know if Ibaka's going to play 36 minutes a game.
Played 36 last night.
Yeah, that strikes me as odd.
Durant played 46 last night. Didn't come out in the second half.
I love the use of Durant and Westbrook. They didn't do a lot of sitting. Westbrook went over 40.
40, yeah, he was right at 40. What do you, Eric, how do you kind of view Kanter's role in this series morphing as it goes to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5?
If you're willing to deal with the concept that he's gonna get exposed at times and find his footing as the game goes on, I'm happy with 20 to 23 from him because he did make a difference once he got comfortable.
Is there a way that the Thunder can like use it against the Warriors at all? Because look, Steve Kerr has laid out his game plan to the Thunder. When Enes Kanter's in the game, he's going small and he's attacking him every single possession. Like, so if you know exactly what the Warriors are going to do, like, Billy's a smart enough guy to, like, behind the scenes, how could, like, okay, if he's going to guard him, we know he's going to be the screener. We know they're going to, like, they know the plays that are going to be coming. So, like, maybe, I don't know, I'm not a freaking basketball genius, but like, don't you feel like Billy can identify that?
It's interesting that you bring that up. It's like I don't want to like make fun of Enes Kanter, but it's almost like you can use him as bait, so to see. Like
here he is, Steve.
Yeah. And then if Kanter can just like maybe say, okay, I'm Enes Kanter, you could drive right by me, and then force the Warriors into going a direction that he wants to go, that they want him to go, and then they could quickly bring that double or make them pass out, like, or force them off the 3-point line because it's like, Enes Kanter, I'm gonna blow by this fool, and then you got to meet Steven Adams or Kevin Durant in the paint. That might be something that the Thunder kind of saying, you know what, be our guest, have at it. I
mean, look, there's some issues with it, and like, but I just feel like knowing exactly what play the other team is going to run, which is getting him in a pick and roll, basically.
Yeah.
It's like got to be somewhat of a benefit.
And it's like, okay, what would you rather deal with? An isolation, and you know exactly what's coming at you, and you can get a contest at the rim when somebody blows by Kanter, or them pinging the ball around to 4 or 5 guys.
Well, that goes back to the Spurs. What we saw, the Spurs' beautiful game that everybody fell in love with 2 years ago. There was nowhere to be found against the Thunder. They went mostly ISO. LaMarcus Aldridge backing somebody down. Kawhi Leonard trying to drive. Steve Kerr talked about it last night. He said we didn't pass it crisply. We didn't cut
especially
well.
in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're talking about, Eric, is exactly right. If you switch on every – and the Thunder switched on almost every screen. When you switch, even if it's Enes Kanter covering Steph Curry, you're turning the Golden State Warriors into one-on-one basketball, and you're taking their strength away from them.
Yeah, like there was some shots that the Warriors made last night on Kanter that if you're the Thunder, you don't mind. Like Draymond Green, remember one time, like he went like through the legs a couple times and shot like a little mini fadeaway from the top of the key. It was like
and one of the threes that Curry made over Kanter banked in from the wing.
In a three. And then Curry, like I don't know, for some reason Curry got Kanter on a switch twice last night. And saw Kanter, and then suddenly like felt like, oh, I'll shoot from 30, and it was like,
why?
Go ahead.
Yeah, like okay, I don't
Drive.
know. I thought the Warriors made some curious decisions.
And their bench, I thought their bench looked not great. Here's what I've discovered about NBA benches.
They're a lot
Your
worse than you think.
your bench is not nearly as bad as you think it is. Everybody's bench always looks better than yours, or the good team's bench. I mean, before the series, the Spurs, everybody thought, Spurs way better than the Thunder bench. Well, proved it wasn't.
Well, the truth is because the Thunder's bench plays 3 guys. Kanter, Foy, Foy, I thought had 14 good minutes last night. He's hitting the corner 3. When he's hitting the corner 3, he's like very useful. And the Waiters, 4 of 6, 2 of 2 from 3, 10 points, 4 assists.
You can't ask much more from Waiters than what you got.
No, you
Waiters
can't.
Playing well.
Every single game he's playing well right now. So that's the only guys that Thunder bring off the bench. Whereas the other teams, like the Spurs, dipped way into the bench. The Warriors played 5 guys off the bench last night. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Iguodala, 33 minutes. Iguodala's really good. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. He's just a really good player. Spates gave him nothing in 6 minutes. He was a -9 in 6 minutes. Azili only played 8 minutes, had 4 fouls.
Yeah, Zealy didn't do much.
Livingston, 21 minutes, shot 2 of 7, was a -8. And then Barbosa, 4 minutes. Like, I don't even remember them. I mean, I do remember the layup he had because it was just terrible Durant help.
Yeah, but, yeah, the Warrior bench, remember when they thought Azili was somebody – match up with Adams? Golly, he can't match up with Steven Adams.
You see, you're surprised because you'd expect the Thunder to want to post when it's a small lineup. They posted Adams on Azili one time, cleared out, and he just backed him in twice, spun, easy layup. Should he get more post ups?
Sure, why not?
He's a baller.
Steven Adams' offense is like this just consistently growing thing. In every game we see something different, so I would not be opposed to giving him more post ups.
He has
1 or 2.
I don't know. Did you guys see some of the offensive stats I put in?
I read your observations, yeah.
Like
yeah,
he hasn't taken more than 8 shots in one postseason game yet.
Yeah,
but
what if he got 14 shots some game?
That's what I'm saying. Because look, 16 on 8 shots, 15 on 7 shots, 12 on 8, 16 on 8. Like, he pretty consistently gets right around 8. In the first year, he had a 15 on 8, a 14 on 7. Like,
he's a ball-playing fool. If that's your point, I agree with you. He's a ball-playing fool.
Get him the ball more. Although, they ran a lob from the first play of the game. It was wide open for the dunk.
Yeah,
and
Westbrook threw that stumpy pass.
It was a little bit off.
Yeah, it was
And then he
short.
should have made the layup.
Yeah, he should have.
He couldn't have dunked it, but he still should have made the layup.
He didn't. These are just crazy Adams numbers. He didn't have a double-digit rebounding game back-to-back this season once. Is that shocking?
Yeah.
He has 8 in a row. He's on a streak of 8 straight right now.
And now he's 6. It was 6 double-doubles in the playoffs after 6 in the regular season.
Yeah, 4 in the last 8 games, I believe. No, 4 straight. Yeah, 4 straight. 6 in the playoffs. He's substantially better than he was 2 months ago.
Yep.
Which is like a major deal. Like that's my thing. Like, when you think back to March and, like, wow, how is this team up 1-0 against the Warriors in the conference finals? How do they beat the Spurs in the second round? If you just take your mind back to March or whatever, remember when they were on that really bad streak? Main reason is probably just because Steven Adams is suddenly, like, top 5 center. Barry Tremble, you're getting blown up this morning on the phone. But, I mean, is that not, like, maybe the top reason? I mean, besides the defense.
Yeah. No, he's playing great. He's clearly the third best player now. That hasn't always been the case, but it is now. But they're getting good performance out of everybody. When everybody plays well, you can live with Durant and Westbrook not only going 17 of 51, but kicking the ball around for a half. So the Warriors come out of this game saying, look at all the things we can do better. The good news for the Thunder is the Thunder does the same.
Yeah.
Shoot foul shots better. The two superstars don't combine to go 33%. The Thunder did not whack the Warriors on the boards in the first half.
No, they didn't.
Rebounding. The Warriors had 21 defensive rebounds in the first half to the Thunder's 2 offensive rebounds.
And that, of course, that reversed in the second half.
did.
I mean, they got a lot better, and that you would think would happen. But that's going to be, to me, the game 2 is going to be a question of who can make up these shortcomings they played in game 1. Both of them have ways to get better.
Adams 61% from the free throw line in the playoffs. He's averaging 10.7 points, 10.1 rebounds. Is this guy going to do you think he's going to average a double-double next year?
If they play him more minutes. He's
he plays-
getting these double-doubles
At this point,
because of the minutes
yes,
extension,
you're
too.
right. You're right. He's averaging
Yeah, what was his per 36 minutes?
He's averaging
in
33 minutes.
In the regular season, what was his per 36-minute figures?
I don't feel like going too deep in a b-ball reference right now.
Okay.
But I mean, will he play 35 minutes a night next year? Because you're still going to have
there's no
Cannon.
reason to. Why would you do it? I mean, in the playoffs, yes, but why do it in the regular season?
If this team brings everyone back,
If you bring everybody back, I wouldn't play Durant that much. Westbrook.
no, I mean obviously.
Billy's done a good job. Everybody got all worked up about the 55-27 record, but now you're seeing that he's sort of. I mean, I'm not saying he knew this was coming, but he had a clue what he was doing.
It's true. There was curious decisions throughout the year, and they should have won 60 games.
Per 36, he's 11.4 points, 9.5 rebounds.
In the playoffs?
In the regular season?
Regular season.
Oh, so he was close in the regular season per 36.
In the playoffs, I'd say he's like 13 and 13 and per 36.
I don't know. He's played a bunch in the playoffs.
No, because he's averaging 10.7 points and 10.1 rebounds and 32.5 minutes per game in the playoffs.
Oh,
Playoffs.
Well, then he'd just go up a little bit.
Playoffs is 11.8, 11.2.
Yeah.
Bad math. By me.
66% shooting. That's why we write.
I'm actually not bad at math. That was just terrible.
Terrible, man.
Yeah. How many wins do you think if this team continues? I mean, look, it's dumb to. I'm talking about next year right now.
It's dumb when they're on a title track here.
Oh, but I just mean
Who's on the roster?
If they brought Waiters and Durant back, they pretty much bring this core back. Like, they could be supremely confident. They could win a lot of games.
Yeah, they could.
But it's like, do you want to win a lot of games? It's like, yeah, if you play Steven Adams 36 minutes, it'll probably help you in the win total in the regular season. But
Steven Adams he's rock solid and tough, but at some point you got to protect the guy. I mean, he had his hand bandaged and he had a cloth in his nose for a good chunk of the game yesterday.
Dude just gives us zero whatevers about his look. It's pretty funny. The dude just, my bleeding, like just throws a cloth like it was just hanging out of his nose. I didn't even see when he got hit. Did you guys?
No, I didn't.
I didn't see it either.
What other play or part of the game sticks out from
What
yesterday?
sticks out to me is the Thunder's defense was dominant in the last 5 minutes. The Thunder's offense was not. Thunder did not have good offense.
They
down
went
the stretch.
ISO ball. Durant
Durant and Westbrook. There for a while, you were thinking, "Oh, here we go. They're going to get roasted, and deservedly so." The only time in the last, I guess, 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, that they went away from Durant and Westbrook was on that lob pass Westbrook to Adams is a terrible pass, and Adams saves it down by the baseline, and then knocks it back and corrals it himself out beyond the foul line, turns around and is open.
I thought he was going to go try to
And that's when he
hammer that dunk.
He was tried, and they fouled him, and then he made the foul shots.
That would have been the worst moment in the Oracle Arena this season if he cocked one back and threw it down on Draymond.
Yeah. And when he started dribbling, I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Well, that's what he.
I kind of liked it. There's been a couple times in these playoffs where I'm like, dude, drive. You know when like he sets those high screens and they double Westbrook, and then Westbrook pitches it over his shoulder, and Adams catches it at the elbow, and nobody's in front of him, and he's like looking around him. I'm like, dude, you're a monster. Just go try to throw it down. They're gonna foul you.
After the game, I asked him. I said, "What was going through your mind when you decided to dribble and
He's blacked
go?"
out.
And he said, "Not much." I forgot what he said exactly, but he said, "Not much. I really wasn't."
I
thinking
think he
that."
said, "I have no idea."
He said, I said, "I have no idea. That could have been tragic."
When anybody besides like Russell Westbrook dribbles against the Warriors, I just get this feeling like, man, they're gonna get stripped. Like,
But you know what I mean when the
Durant.
court is like wide open, where it's like a power dribble with nobody around, and then just go up to throw it
Yeah.
down. Because if it's like that play, like Draymond Green has to foul him.
right?
You know what I mean? Like, especially if he goes for the power dunk, which he seems to be doing a lot of.
I thought the Durant jumper over Iguodala was a good signature moment from that game too.
The one that put him up 5
Yeah,
with 30 seconds. Yeah.
when I think they might have done better sending another guy at Durant to make him make a decision, but when I saw Iguodala kind of backing up, and I was like, man, this is exactly what Durant wants. Like, he's going to hit this shot. And then I think somebody on press row was like, I didn't like that shot. And I was like, I like that shot. I mean, Iguodala's a good defender, but Durant one-on-one with nobody else coming to help,
If Kevin
that's a
Durant's
problem.
missed 80 in a row,
I like that
he's
shot.
got to take that shot.
Yeah, it was a big shot.
It was to the point late in the game with how both teams were kind of offensively like not necessarily taking terrible shots, although I think the Warriors did, but just missing shots where it felt like either team could take the game. You just kind of felt like whoever loses this is going to look back like, eesh. And then, the Thunder feel so good about themselves right now because, hey, they didn't play that well and they got the win, whereas the Warriors don't feel good because it's like the Thunder didn't play that well and we didn't win. So,
Yeah.
If the Thunder had lost that game, you would have really looked back at some of those Durant misses down the stretch. Because he had a chance to seal the game like 4 times. Eventually did seal it.
And they didn't get a lot of Westbrook penetration down the stretch. Like Ibaka didn't get a shot in the last. I don't know. Did he get a shot in the last quarter? I don't
Seems
know.
like he never does. So.
Typically doesn't.
Oh, Serge.
But he
He's
played
playing
well.
well.
I know he
played
did, but like, it's just been kind of a rough year for him. I feel like the fan base has really turned on him, and like,
Yeah, they have.
and I think he cares too much about the stuff that he's not getting, which some guys are wired differently.
You go win an NBA title, it might change the way you feel about things, though.
Yep, no doubt about it. Well, we got to get across the street, guys.
It's only to 10:25.
10:25. We got to be there at 11:15. You're a long way from being presentable.
Jeez.
Dang.
At a proud organization like the
Dang.
Warriors.
Acting like he's over here in his underwear or something.
Not too
Which
far
he's not,
from
by
it.
the way. He's not.
Not too far from it.
Jesus. All right. What? Anything else? Anything else stick out in this series? This few days we've been here.
Well, again, I think about that sequence where they went back and forth and the way that the Thunder were able to kind of take these body blows, so to speak, from the Warriors and be able to not fall apart. I thought that was really impressive. And, I mean, we've seen them come apart at times against the Warriors in the regular season. And for them to keep their composure, I thought was really impressive last night. They continue to surprise me. The consistency is the most surprising thing to me.
Donovan. 2.
And Donovan not breaking and saying, hey, Kyle Singler, get in there for 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
He's just completely changed people's minds in these playoffs. He's become so much more comfortable, I think. I mean, we've talked about it a little
Donovan?
bit. Yeah. I just, getting on his guys at times and just, it seems like he's pushing all the right buttons at the right time. But, all right.
Well, the idea that he was learning the ropes or trying to figure out how to coach in the NBA, I always thought that was silly.
No, I mean,
as long as you get along with your guys, that's what it's all about.
Well, no, true, but where I will disagree with you is like there's times this season I remember like Mo Cheeks having to come out like, hey, we should do an offense-defense sub, or like, hey, you only got one timeout, or like, hey, just like Mo Cheeks or whoever, like explaining different NBA type stuff. He even mentioned it yesterday, like, if you've never coached before, you've never been through the fire with guys, like, you don't know when to push and pull different guys. Hey, when to yell at Serge Ibaka. Hey, don't yell at Serge Ibaka. Like, how to handle. Like,
but I don't know. Heck, I don't
like
know if he'll
coaches
ever learn that. I don't know that Scotty ever learned. Scotty coached 7 years. I don't know that he ever learned
I think
that.
Donovan, to me, and you could be the ones that talk about this most because we sat there, courtside all year watching him. Like, does he not seem different demeanor-wise on the sideline, and just like his command of the game seems a little different?
He's definitely more animated than he was before. There was a lot of times where he just stand with his arms folded, and I think you wrote this earlier in the season, but there was kind of a turning point where Durant started looking to Donovan to lobby to the referees for calls. And I don't remember what game it was, but Durant's been doing it all season. He's been kind of.
I remember they won because I went up to him post game.
Yeah, and
it was after like a pretty nice win, and I had to ask Durant, like, "Look, you yelled at Billy during the game." And
yeah,
he was like, "Oh, don't after a win, you're gonna do that? Like, you're just gonna try to bring up stories."
That was a point where you started to see Durant look to him more during games, and Billy kind of had this. That's when he started getting more animated with the officials, when he started to kind of voice his opinion more. But maybe like the first quarter to half of the season, he wasn't doing that much at all. He was kind of standing and just kind of observing. And maybe that's his nature. Maybe he was just trying to get his feel for the team. But that interaction with Durant was fascinating to me.
Yeah, what's funny to me is like, I don't know, like Adams can go up and just get hammered, and like it'll be a no call. And, like, Adams, like, doesn't care. Just runs back, and Billy doesn't really react. And, like, even Westbrook sometimes, he might have got fouled, might not have, and Billy doesn't react. If Durant goes in the lane and misses a shot and immediately, like, penguins his arms and, like, is mad at the refs, Billy's up. Billy's up, and he's yelling at the refs. He, like, argues every Durant miss.
And I think Durant needs that from Billy. And this is just my personal opinion.
I agree with you.
I think Durant needs that, and we saw that play out. From that point that we saw it in that game and you brought it to my attention, we've seen that play out so many games since then that when Durant gets whacked, Billy's got to, that's
jumps out.
Yeah, he's got to say something, and he doesn't say much often. But I think that's kind of opened up this avenue for him to be a little bit more vocal about things. Maybe Durant gave him the avenue to say, not that he gave him permission, but that was kind of the entry.
He just
point.
woke him up like, hey, it's different here.
Like, hey, fight for me, dog. Like,
he's been really good in the media too. I think like a lot of national guys are like, whoa, he's like telling us a lot of stuff. Like, this is kind of interesting. I thought his quote about the defense last night was interesting.
Yeah, he's very. I think Billy's very forthcoming. He'll tell you what's going on.
And I think it comes off well to the press because they're like, wow, like this guy clearly knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Like he seems pretty intellectual, so he probably behind the scenes is like coming up with good game plans.
On the other end, I think Steve Kerr I like Steve Kerr's media personality going from Pop to Kerr, and I don't necessarily have a problem with Pop. I don't have any more problem with Pop than I have with Rick Carlisle. I thought Rick Carlisle was more of a jerk than Pop, to be honest with you.
I don't.
But
just Barry.
Just for our personal interaction.
Just strictly to Barry. Rick Carlisle is mean, and Pop loves Barry, so it's like completely different for him.
But Kerr's just like his just calmness about last night and what they need to fix was just, I could see how that could be comforting to his players. The way he went about it, not so much that like it was, oh, it's no big deal. Like he acknowledged that they struggled in aspects and they didn't play the offense the way they needed to in the fourth quarter. But he also had a calmness about him that I can see why he's a successful coach and why that team is able to sustain even when he hadn't been there for long stretches this season. It was pretty remarkable to talk to him the past couple days.
If the Thunder comes out and plays really well defensively in Game 2, I think it's just going to be really fun to watch because that arena is going to be just desperate, and that Warriors team, like, backed against the wall, is going to be really good.
I have no reason to believe that they won't come out and play well because they've convinced me that they can be consistent. Like, and that took a long time for them to convince me they could be consistent because they weren't consistent in the regular season. But now we've seen, I mean, I guess since Game 2, we've seen of the Spurs series, that's 6 games in a row they've been pretty consistent defensively. Is that 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last 5 and then this one, yeah. No doubt about it.
Yeah, in Game 3 against the Spurs at home, like, Westbrook was really bad in transition, remember?
Yeah.
Like, there was that was their worst of the 6. But overall.
But in that game, Kevin Durant played well defensively.
If you really think back in the playoffs, like, were they bad in the Mavericks series defensively much? I mean, I remember Game 2 in the loss, Westbrook was bad down the stretch, but they really weren't.
Game 2 was an offensive problem.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, truthfully, now they've played, 12 playoff games? They've probably been really poor defensively in 1. It's good ratio.
Yep, no doubt about it.
All right. Well, we will talk to you again. It's going to be tough on Thursday with a flying. Are you flying early?
I am.
No, I'm at noon.
Y'all both noon?
We might maybe we'll podcast after the game.
We could.
Wednesday night. Still, it's the 6 o'clock.
Yeah, or why couldn't we do it Friday morning? How about Friday morning for the?
Yeah, because there's,
Give them
there's
something
a
over the
massive
weekend.
layoff until game, whatever, 3. All right, we'll talk to you again soon.
Durant pull-up jumper off the rim and and the Thunder win! Come on, let's sing the Thunder song. When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your Thunder buddy and say these magic words.